What was the best karma is a bee moment you have witnessed? Neighbors on the balcony next door having a smashing time throwing bottles to the sidewalk. Can't get any sleep and I have to wake up at 7:30 am. Make the decision to get my rest and request officers to survey the scene. Watching from my window I see 3 fratties picking up glass under the flashlights of 2 deputies. With this issue resolved, I guess you could say I called the karma police. I read that as 3 fatties. I count this as a karma, but call it justice too. B deserved it. This happened a few years ago and I had originally posted it under another account that has since been deleted. I used to live a street or 2 behind a central suburban bus stop on top of a big hill and I would take the bus every day to university, about an hour's bus ride away. One morning I get on the bus and the bus pulls up to the intersection waiting for the intersection lights to turn red so it gets the green and pulls out. We get the green and start pulling out. All of a sudden this primped up snooty middle-aged woman in a red suit, I still remember the details because it made me so mad, flew through the red light in her huge silver Cadillac going the same way that the bus was turning. The bus driver had to slam on the brakes quite suddenly and then honked at the woman. The woman, who clearly intentionally ran the red because he head was never down, flips the bus driver off and keeps speeding. The bus driver, this really jovial large black lady, cursed and carried on. From the bus terminal to the city you drive down a really big hill before it flattens out in the valley. In the mornings evenings cops like to patrol the intersection right at the bottom of the hill, especially because they can radar gun cars coming down the hill as the bus was, because there is a curve in the road and if you're going too fast the cops can catch you before you have a chance to see them and slow down. Well, guess what happened? We get to the bottom of the hill and see that the cops had pulled over a silver Cadillac into the cross street and were issuing her a ticket. The bus driver saw it and said, "Oh yeah baby," and pulled the bus over to the sidewalk near to where the intersection was and flagged down one of the cops. He came on and asked what was up and the bus driver asked if she had been caught speeding. The cop said she had and the bus driver said, "Oh yeah, is it still illegal to run a red light?" The cop laughed and said that it was. Then asked her if the lady in the caddy had done that and the bus driver said yes. The cop asks, "Well, we will add that to her ticket. Would you be willing to come in as a witness in court for that?" Then the bus driver said, "Honey, I get paid to go to court for stuff like this. It'd be my pleasure." And the whole bus started clapping. It was such a good day. The whole bus clapping is usually a sign of that happened, but given the fact that she could have caused significant injury to everybody on that bus, and peer pressure is a thing, that is about the only response I can envision to such an event. Dang. I hope for the bus driver's sake that it was a long case requiring lots of testimony. Last spring I didn't get a date to the junior prom. I wasn't thrilled, but I figured I'd go stag. I found the perfect dress and was actually really excited. Then my group of friends said I couldn't come with them. Why? I didn't have a date and it would ruin the pictures if I stood by myself. And since I wasn't going to be in the pictures, they said, wouldn't it just be so awkward for me to get ready with them and be at Claudia's, the ringleader, house beforehand? And of course, wouldn't I just be so uncomfortable being the only one in the limo with no boyfriend? And what would I do afterwards anyways? I mean, everyone knows what happens at the parties after prom. So I didn't go at all. Guess whose limo never showed up? Your friends are lame and aren't real friends at all. Real friends would have offered to lend you their dates for dances, staged the photos in a manner so that you didn't look stag, aka group photos rather than partnered group photos, etc. Don't miss out on fun events just because someone said the photos wouldn't look good. Not my story but my mom's. Apparently when she was a young lass, there was a girl at school who was always a major B to her, hated my mom for whatever reason and always made fun of her. Fast forward to my mom as a college-aged woman now dating a guitarist from Bob Marley's band, out at a bar with him getting a drink. Dude goes to the bathroom and said B from back in the day comes up to my mom and says, "OMG, did you see who was here at that moment?" Dude comes and puts his arm around my mom and says, "Hey babe, what's happening?" She said the look on that girl's face was priceless. This guy in a sporty car tailgating me on the highway. I'm in the right lane and already going over the speed limit. He won't pass me but is riding my bumper. Suddenly there is a huge chink of lumber in the road right in front of me. Possibly a 6 inches x 6 inches chunk of wood about 3 feet long, possibly blocking that fell off a flatbed truck. I swerved to miss it, but the guy behind me ran over it. I saw his car jump up and a cloud of smoke as he slowed down to a stop. My dad did something like this. Woman was tailgating him so closely he couldn't see her headlights. She had been doing it for ages and they came up to her construction zone. He was driving up to one of the big orange cones and get almost to it before swerving out of the way. She slammed right into it. At school, one kid threw a pencil at the teacher. The pencil hit the teacher in the face. The teacher whipped it back and it hit the kid in the face. Ex-wife cheated on me while I was deployed, drained out bank accounts, and sold all my tools. 2 snap-on rollaways filled with tools. After we divorced, she lost her job, totaled her car. The guy she cheated with left her. Her mom died and she lost her apartment. Your karma can be a B. 2 snap-on rollaways filled with tools. If the tools inside were also snap-on, this is grounds for murder. Holy crap. I have a farm in Africa. I'm not joking. I am African with a large extended family. It's a small farm. Family land for several generations. My cousins who live there are pretty much subsistence farmers. They eat what they grow, mostly corn, maize, and there is a pond we fill to fish farm when it is not too dry. But it had been very wet and it has silted up. Anyway, I am visiting them, helping fertilize the field before planting. Now by fertilize I mean the good stuff. Nothing from Monsanto, but 3 months of dung accumulated over winter. All of a sudden a big Land Rover pulls up, full of tourists. I think they were English by their accents. They are lost, trying to get to a resort far away. We give directions. They don't like that we have told them a long route. It really was the correct route. They tell us that the Land Rover can go through anything and want to cut through the field. They offer to pay us. Well, would any farmer allow such a thing? We say no. At some point they just take off and drive right into the muddy pond that is hard to see because it's overgrown this time of year. Land Rovers are wonderful for off-road, but several feet of mud and vines and weeds. They swirl and turn and back up, just getting more stuck. Finally they emerge on foot through the mud. We are so shocked we can't even laugh until later. They walk up to us and sheepishly ask to hire a car. We charged them well. Also charged the towing company that came to get their car. My cousins made a tidy sum. It is now the family joke that we should be growing tourist cars instead of maize and fish. When I was younger, high school, my city had automatic sprinklers in most of the parks and areas with grass. They would turn on automatically at like 3 or 4 AM. So being a young dumb kid, me and my friends figured out if you kicked them hard enough the top would break off and the sprinkler would full force shoot a huge stream into the air from then on. We thought it was hilarious and were never caught. We kept on with this until one day they started replacing them with new super strong steel ones. I kicked one and broke my big toe and while in agony rolled my ankle so freaking bad it was bruised up for a week and has never been the same. Wow, young Jesus seemed like a jackass. When I was in middle school I was sitting at lunch with my normal lunch group. There wasn't enough room for this one guy at the table so he sat at the table next to us by himself. One of our friends felt bad so he left our table and sat next to him. The kid who was originally sitting by himself moved to our table, took the other guy's old spot and leaving the other guy completely alone. We all moved to the other table and left him alone again. I was in a bad relationship over the summer. Fights soften. And when she got really upset, she would slap me. There was one night I felt the fight coming. During the calm before the fight I told her she needs to stop slapping me when she gets upset. Well, fight starts, slaps happen. I try to tell her we need to be quieter and not wake my neighbors. I'm trying to end this relationship. She's freaking out so bad. She ripped my favorite shirt off of me, tearing it in half. Knock at the door. Cops come in, split us up. And when they ask her if it got physical, she told them she had slapped me. She was in cuffs in seconds. Hey man, glad to hear you got out of there. Hope you found someone better. My son's mom. She left me and my son when he was 2 months old. She decided all she wanted to do was be out at the clubs and fricking random guys instead of being a mom. My son is 10 now. We don't talk to her, but judging from her Facebook her life is a mess. Now has 4 kids with different dads and has been in jail in and out. Child Protective Services have a scope on her. She doesn't have anything at all to do with my son. But she posted on her Facebook that the reason her life is a mess is because her firstborn child's father, me, put witchcraft on her. Haha, nope, not me. That is called karma and it's a B. Meanwhile, me and my son have lives a wonderful life. You just keep that woman out of your lives and karma will forever be her B. Glad you and your son are doing awesome. We had a dance unit in my 7th grade gym class. The teachers decided that it was a good idea for everyone to do Tailgating. My middle school ran like Mean Girls, and many were holding grudges for events that had occurred in the previous year. Old elementary school football rivalries were present. The nerdy kids loathed the jocks. The more popular girls were angry because of some major rumors that were going around at the time. The girls in smaller cliques secretly envied each other. The lowest of the middle school social caste system had it out for the bullies. It was chaos just waiting to explode, as 200 of us were crowded into the gym. Before us was a massive screen playing a Billy Banks Tailgating DVD. At first, the Tailgating exercise was relatively civil, but there were those kids who were just being pricks, kneeing people in the back, punching shoulders, and then acting like it was an accident. Attitudes shifted. You could feel the heat of the victim's anger and the testosterone levels skyrocketing. Suddenly, a few unpopular kids realized that gym class was requiring them to hit and kick. Their tormentors were getting away with using Tailgating as an excuse to be jerks, and they shouldn't be the only ones to play that game. Perhaps, this time, they could evade the no tolerance policy and get away with dishing out some vengeance. Without warning, the entire gym erupted into a flurry of fists and flying feet. Girls who had been the verbal punching bag of their clique pulled hair and swiped at faces with fake nails. Kids who had been bullied day after day were dishing out black eyes like it was nobody's business. The sudden lashes of anger aroused the bitterness of the others, and the attacking spread like wildfire. The kids at the top of the social hierarchy and the well-known bullies were taken completely by surprise as the tables turned and some even bolted for the doors. The gym teachers tried to stop the epic battle, but there were only 6 of them. Eventually, school security showed up to break up the fight. No one was formally punished that day, as you couldn't exactly punish 200 kids. Injuries ranged from bruises to broken teeth. Essentially, the middle school version of a peasant rebellion occurred, and the nobility got their asses kicked. Unfortunately, the issues were not cleared up in a single battle. Alliances only strengthened and the neutral took sides, which led up to the Great Twitter War, which has, as far as I know, remains unresolved, though it effectively tore the school apart. OP, please deliver on the Great Twitter War. I was in high school, and this huge guy used to threaten me all the time. I didn't take his crap, and that just made it worse. Constantly threatening me, trying to start stuff, etc. I got to go and testify against him at his last death penalty sentencing trial. He killed an older couple. He's going to rot in jail. Haha. If he ever escapes, I'm on his list. Some little toddler punk grabbed at the just poured hot coffee meant for me. The barista tried to stop the kid, but this kid was not having it. He took a huge sip, I think mistaking it for the pumpkin spice latte his mama ordered for him while in line before me, and promptly made a face, spit it out, and dropped the hot coffee all over himself. Cries ensue. Mom berates the employee for letting this happen, waving her own large frappe wildly in the air. Little Helen is still throwing full tantrum on the floor, pulls at his mom's pants and then the frappe falls on him too. I giggled. You're supposed to apply ice water to burns. I guess a frappe is close enough. When I was in middle school, this girl threatened to kill me if I ever talked to her brother again. Seriously, the next day she slipped on ice and had to go to the hospital. It was wild. Not me, but a friend of me. When looking for a parking spot at his job, he was cut off by another car. The driver jumped out, showed him the bird and shouted, "Sucks to be you." Tosser, my friend, found another parking spot and went inside to interview a new person for a job at the company. Guess who that person was? Now that's some sweet karma. I was coming out of work from a nightclub in NYC 1993. A friend and I were walking towards the train station when we heard an older lady screaming, "Help! Help!" We saw a guy running away from the screams towards us with a woman's purse in his hand. I don't know why I did this, but I pulled out my work badge. Plain work badge, not a security badge. I was just the DJ. The thief must have thought I was a cop and he immediately throws his hands in the air and without a struggle he throws himself to the floor. I told him to stay laying on the floor or he will be peppered sprayed. I had no pepper spray. A few minutes later the cops show up and arrest him. The old lady was very grateful and was mostly worried about her pictures of her family she had in her purse. Bad guy got instant karma and didn't even get halfway down the block with the purse. A couple years ago I took my dog for a run at 5 AM down a local bike walking path. My dog took a huge dump right in the middle of the path, but it was near the beginning and I didn't want to carry around my dog's crap. Plus it was 5 AM and nobody was around. I decided to just leave it. I stepped in it on my way back. At work about 6 weeks ago. It's 4 AM and we're waiting for a delivery. A drunk black guy, relevant just wait, comes up and starts yelling to open the door so he can exchange done empty bottles for some more beer. Now there's like 3 things wrong here. 1. We don't open for another 4 hours. 2. He's obviously intoxicated and we can't legally sell to him anyways. 3. His behavior would have gotten him kicked out of his store even if we were open. We inform him that he can't buy beer and that he can't hang out in front of the store because we're waiting for the delivery. Now, he wasn't the first person to try to buy from us that morning. The other guy, white, when asked to leave politely did with an apology. This second guy starts screaming at us, threatening us and saying, "It's 'cause I'm a man." So for our safety we stayed locked in the store and called the police. He wound up leaving and we never saw the cops. Fast forward about 35 days. He comes strolling into the store like nothing had ever happened. I mentioned that he's no longer allowed in the store and he's in a world of confusion. I had to explain to him what he had done, to which he said something along the lines of, "Well, that explains why I wound up in jail for 35 days. A couple of kids used to relentlessly make fun of me in school. They made fun of me cause I was uncool, couldn't play football well, despite being 6'6", and just my general ungrace that comes with being a large teenager. The only thing I could come back with is that they were never going to make anything of themselves. Let's recount how they are doing. One guy is dead. Drugs. One guy is a rage addict that is trying to crowdfund his rehab. It didn't hit its goal the first time. One guy is an amateur rapper. One guy is in jail for credit card fraud and debauchery. One of them is actually doing alright. I saw him at a party and he apologized for being an butthole. Turns out, he's a good guy. I love how you included amateur rapper in with rapist, dead, and H-addict. This happened a couple days ago. Guy was in his base BMW 3 Series who got stuck in a turn-only lane. He cut someone off, and the car behind him honked at him. At that point he stopped and parked his car. Keep in mind this is during traffic time. And got out and started walking towards the car he cut off. Little did he know, there was a police SUV 2-3 cars behind them. As soon as the guy started walking towards the car, the officer turned on his lights. Great justice was had that day. And yes, he did look like the typical law doesn't apply to me douchebag. I was with some friends walking around Boston. One of them pulls out some gum and I immediately shout, "Hey, can I have a piece?" My friend looks down and tells me that it's his last piece. He waits a second and then says that I can have it. I immediately reach for it but stop myself since I would have felt bad taking his last piece. Another friend who is kind of a dong ran up and grabbed the piece and yelped when he got shocked from the prank toy. I still get a Pulp Fiction divine intervention feeling when I think about it. A friend of a friend joined our group as we were going to a college football game. He spent the night aggressively hitting on our super hot friend whose husband wasn't around. She was obviously uncomfortable about it, so I pulled him aside and told him she was married. His response was, "So? A ring doesn't plug a hole." In the parking lot he was goofing off and showed off his athleticism by sprinting across the parking lot, which wasn't well lit. The separators in the parking lot were those waist-high poles with chains connecting them, almost invisible in the dark. This guy ran into the chain full speed. It hit him just below the waist, causing a complete stop followed by swinging back and pivoting over it onto his head. It wasn't a minor injury. He could barely walk for a week and had a concussion. Instant karma is delicious. This will get buried, but I still love this story. I had to use a 4-lane road to commute to and from work. 2 lanes each way. There was an intersection where I would always get the red light. During rush hour, I might have to wait through a few cycles before I could get through the intersection, mainly because the left lane didn't get a green arrow to turn and it would cause a backup. One day I was waiting my turn to get through this intersection. It was a nice day, so I had the window open. 2 guys pulled up in the next lane. There was a lot of traffic that day, so for 3 light cycles, these guys starting talking major crap to me, calling me OS, telling me that wanted to F me, eat me, wanted me to suck them off, crap like that. Ignoring them did not dissuade them, and I eventually talked a little crap back. Finally, it was my turn to go through the intersection. Traffic unwinds. I start to take off. The guys in the next lane also take off so they can stay even with me and scream more crazy crap at me. Problem was, the car in front of their lane was taking a left. Their lane was not moving. I take off right as they rear end the brand new Jag and line in front of them. The best part was the super loud Nelson Muntz HAHA. I yelled at them when they hit that car, because they heard that crap and looked sad. Still makes me laugh every time I think about it. Catching the train home late one night, I was awoken by a group of loudmouthed drunk guys shouting xenophobic slurs to anyone that looked even a little bit non-white. Another passenger starts telling them to shut up or get the frick off the train when these guys flip out and start screaming at him. At this point, another guy, who happens to be black, tells them to calm down and they start screaming at him that they are going to kick the crap out of him. At this point, a few other guys on the train are starting to get up and move towards these idiots. Then the black dude gets up. It turns out he was slouching in his chair pretty seriously because he is a freaking monster. He actually had to turn side on to move past the little handrail in the middle of the train, his shoulders were so big. At this point he puts his hat back on, which has transport security written on it in large letters. He hits the intercom button to signal the train guard and tells them to arrange police at the next station, then just walks up and grabs one of the guys and tells him ever so calmly he just wanted to get home after a long shift, so they all better behave really well because he is losing his patience fast. Everyone starts cheering the security guy and yelling at the idiots, who are then escorted from the train at the next stop. It was beautiful. C at a Foo Fighters concert throws his plastic pint glass with a couple of inches of beer left in it into the crowd. 2 seconds later he gets hit in the back of the head with one. Turns round to see me pee myself laughing at him, but with a full pint, so wasnn't me mate, and gets hit square in the chest with another one. I laughed so hard. Concert was awesome. Driving home over a rural hilltop, overtaken by a speeding car full of young guys flipping me off. Rounded a corner about half a mile later to see the car's front bumper in the middle of the road and the car in a ditch. Stopped long enough to check no one was hurt. Flipped them off and drove off. My sister's fiance cheated on her after a 4-year relationship and decided to leave my sister for the woman. The woman he cheated with decided that after a month it was appropriate to cheat on him with his best friend. Haha, I never liked the guy anyway, and now my sister is with this awesome hot carpenter guy. Here's a big F you to Utah J. Feels good to get that out. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.